Welcome back to Grandstand Sports Data. Week 4 is in the books, and now it's time to roll into week 5. And we've got some fresh model projections, proven systems, and bankroll strategies lined up to help you stay disciplined. So, whether you're a new bettor trying to learn the ropes or a seasoned sharp learning for that extra edge, this is where we're going to put the numbers to work for you. We're going to break down week 5 and see where the smart money could be hiding this week. All right, so just starting off with the benchmark model results, you can see we go through this every week. We don't cover the spreads. The spreads is basically a losing prop when it comes to the benchmark model over the long run, as you can see. Moneyline, we break this down into break-even percentages. 62.1 is the win percentage on this in the last 5 years. Therefore, anything that picks the model or any team that gets picked by the model and has minus 163 odds or better are the teams that can qualify for a play here. Just because you're putting yourself in the long run in the best position to win and you have a proven edge. Now, on the right side is going to be the totals, and it has been profitable over the last 5 years. You can see it's a 2.5% return on your investment if you made every play in those games for the last 5 years. So, if you guys want us to put a slide up next week for the totals, we can do that. We keep requesting this. If not, that's okay. But you put it in the comment section down below if you want to see some of those picks going forward. Now, speaking of the benchmark model and who it picked to win and who qualifies for those minus 163 odds, you can see this week it's going to be the Cowboys, Giants, Panthers, and then the Chargers, and you can see their respective odds. Remember, for that minus 163 cutoff, these odds do change, so just just keep a note of that. But as long as it stays in that minus 163 and you're a person who always backs the model, these are the plays that qualify. So let's move on to some of the money line systems that we will be touching on in week 5 or putting into action in week 5. The color codes are just comparing them to each other, but as you can see, they are all strong in the middle column. They're all plus units. So we're just comparing them to themselves when we do the red, orange, yellow, green, and blue color scheme. Red being the strongest to blue being the weakest. But remember, they're all profitable. First one will be favorites on a high total mixed with Grandstand Sports Data coaching model. If a team satisfy those two factors and has the minus 283 uh, parameters there, I guess you would call them, we would make those bets on those teams. Well, the teams going into week 5 with that edge will be the Rams, Cowboys, Chargers, and Chiefs. Moving on to the next one, we're just going to switch out that favorites on a high total for 620-mile rule in that Grandstand Sports Data coaching model. Remember, any teams under that minus 247 odds, they will satisfy this system. We got the Eagles, Ravens, Panthers, Seahawks, and the Chargers again. Favorites on a high total. We're going to bring that back, but we're going to mix it with the 620-mile rule now. You can see two teams to signify or satisfying that system. It's going to be the Colts and the Chargers again. So the Chargers are landed on all three systems so far. And then they landed on this one as well when we mix in the favorites on a high total, 620-mile rule, and the coaching. So we're basically taking those three previous factors and mixing them into one. That's gone 22-4 in the last 2 years. Chargers seem to fit the bill there in a system that has profited $5.92 for every $1 bet. Now for the final one, it's going to be the 620-mile rule mixed with the Madden rating. And if you don't know what we do with that, we're just measuring player quality. So what your team looks like on paper and coaching with the Grandstand Sports Data coaching model. Well, teams that fit the bill for those will be the Eagles and Ravens going into week 5. So those are the teams that are fitting the systems that we have here with some of our highest performing systems on the money line. So just remember that this is only the money line. But now that we gave you the money line, let's jump over to the spreads. As you can see from the spreads, we're going to go with the 620-mile rule mixed with the coaching here at Grandstand Sports Data. You can see the Eagles, Ravens, Panthers, Seahawks, Cardinals, and Chargers all fit the bill for that 620-mile rule and coaching system on the spreads. Remember, these are spreads now. Now we get next the favorites on a high total mixed with the 620-mile rule. We got the Colts and Chargers fitting the bill for that one. Next will be favorites on a high total mixed with rest. So rest differential. Team just has to have more rest than their opponent. And then coaching model here at Grandstand Sports Data. We can't stop plugging that since it's been so profitable. I have to say that it has been profitable. Not so much on the spread, but on the money line it has over the long run. If you guys haven't checked out that video, make sure to check it out in the link in the description down below. But who's fitting the bill for that will be the Cowboys and the Lions. Now favorites on a high total mixed with 620-mile rule. So we're taking out the rest, put in the 620-mile rule. That's gone 15-11 in the last 2 years. Chargers are fit in the bill for that spread system. And then finally, we got the last one here, the rest, 620-mile rule, and the coaching model. The teams that fit the bill here are going to be the Eagles, Panthers, Seahawks, and Cardinals. So a little bit of teams that maybe you could find some value, and maybe they're playing some weak opposition. But these are the teams that fit some of the high performance spread systems that we're putting to work in week 5. Now, let's take a look at the market variables, and these are the ones that we've been tracking. So, first off, contrarian numbers are going to be built from this year and last year. So, that's what you're going to see from the contrarian numbers. While the bet percentage and money percentage are based only on this season, and so is the sharp side, just to let you know, the top row of each of these are going to be the spread performance. And then that bottom row is going to reflect the money line. So, as you can see from contrarians, this will signify the spreads, and this will signify the records for the money lines. So just to get you all caught up. Let's take a look at that first row, which is contrarians. This means that we're fading the public, right? You're going against the side most bettors are on. So that's historically been profitable approach because the market tends to overprice the popular side, right? And here are the teams that fit the bill this week. It's going to be the Texans, Raiders, Seahawks, and Bengals. Now, let's jump over to the bet percentage. This is simply tracking the number of tickets. A lot of market readers will tell you this is the public side, and the public loses a lot. So this is the side that you may want to stay away from, right? Now, sometimes the public can line up on the right side with the sharp side, so you have to keep that in mind so you don't just go blindly fading them. So that's something that you need to, keep an eye out on. The teams that are satisfying that are shown right here. I'm not gonna list them all because it's basically a team for each matchup. Next is going to be the money percentage, and this is going to tell us where actual dollars are going. So some bettors will say that this is the sharp side. I will say not always, but it does signify the sharp side. I would say more often than not. Uh, the teams that are satisfying here, you can see there. Next, we're going to go to the next row, which is probably the most important row, and this is the sharp side. And these are the teams that have the sharper money, or the sharper money is backing that team when the public is not. And that's where you find some crucial edges in the market. Now, here are the ones worth watching. They're going to be labeled in blue: Denver, the Raiders, Tennessee, Chargers, and the Patriots. So those are the 5 teams that they're getting market support, but they're not getting public support, which is really good for people who are trying to educate themselves and put themselves in the best position to win. You can see last week on the sharp side in that bottom row, those are the 2 weeks. We only been tracking sharp side this year for only the last 2 weeks. It went 4-1 and came back from a bad record on both the money line and the spread. But you can see that week before that, if you've been watching our videos, it was a real public week. I want to say it was week 3. A lot of public money won. It doesn't mean that always happens. Sometimes the public is on the right side, like I said. But the sharp side came back to life last week. And in the long run, it usually does as well. So those are the teams to keep a lookout down in that bottom right hand corner. Talking about the Broncos, Raiders, Titans, Chargers, and Pats. All right, so here we go. We're going to go with the picks and the bankroll allocation just from using the slides that we just previously touched on. Now, disclaimer, this card is for educational purposes only. We built it together step by step using systems, benchmarks, and filters to highlight where real value exists. I'm not telling you who to bet. I'm showing you how to spot value in those overlaps that we talked about so that you can put yourself in the best position to win. And I will always say that here in this channel. The first pick that we have for you on the spreads is going to be the Dallas Cowboys at -2.5, right? Systems point to Dallas, models point to Dallas, market points to Dallas. This is Dallas, Dallas, Dallas. I should have even put it at a 4%, but just for the bankroll allocation, wanted to keep it a little bit small. This could be a 4% play, though, if you really like it. Raiders at +6.5. I like this too as well. Contrarian side and sharp money backing them makes us go Vegas here. A little bit, just only 2% because only the contrarian and sharp money, but that's good enough to make a play for me. Chargers at -2.5. This is backed by the market and have that sharp side along with some system support. So they had the systems, they had the sharp side. You've seen them even on the money line, the amounts of systems they were touching on. I think 4 out of the 5. So if you wanted to go on the money line, we'll talk about that in the bottom right hand side. I just think that they even had some system support on the spreads. So -2.5. I like the Chargers there. Let's move on to the Pats at +7.5. They have the sharp side and a big number in a divisional dog spot has checked all the boxes for a small play here. And what I mean by that is that +7.5, that number you could probably even get at 8.5 at some bookmakers right now. We got it at 7.5 here on Wednesday, so that's what That's what we got here, and we put a small play. But I just want you to know there wasn't much system support. There wasn't much of that, but it was sharp money. Remember, we said watch out for those bottom right hand side teams on the last slide. New England happened to be one of them. They have plenty of sharp money on them for a team that's going up against Buffalo on Sunday night. Next is Kansas City for volume bettors at -3.5. There's tons of money line support for Kansas City, so that's where I will go. But the market is siding with Kansas City on the spread as well. So if you find an edge with Kansas City in the spread, go for it on your own terms. But just from what I've been showing you, and that's what we're doing, we're walking through basically the steps on how to make your bets. Kansas City on the money line seems like just it's hit on every money line system. Everything is signaling money line, and at -175, that's really up to you if you want to do it at that price. Next would be Seattle, who is better to grab on the money line at -3.5. I think that's some spread support from our systems and the benchmark model on the spread, but the market is liking Tampa Bay on the spread, and that scares me a little bit. So I would stick to Seattle on the money line because almost all the stars align for them on the money line. And you could even argue that I should have went 4% here with Dallas. You may even argue that I should have went 4% here with Seattle in terms of their money line edges that they have. Now, sticking to the money lines, we just analyzed Seattle. Let's move on to the Giants at plus money at plus 110. So New Orleans is really, really bad, and so is New York. So let's just be fair about it. But the market support and benchmark model support is all on the money line for here in the Giants. So everything is pointing to the Giants. I think that it's an even matchup of just suck. So it's really who you think is going to suck less. Next, Kansas City, like we said a little bit earlier, so much support for Kansas City on the money line here for us to ignore it. Uh, that's where we wanted to take it. Some people, if they can get that -3.5, and they feel comfortable and they have an edge in that, go for it. Dallas down here and better to get on the spread. Why take the money line in Dallas when you have so much support for them to cover at that -2.5? That's basically the big question that I would have. If the line happened to move in some miraculous manner to 3 or 3.5, then I'd flip to the money line. But I don't see that happening. Not in my years of experience. I don't think that it's going to jump that far in such a short time. Chargers would be next in terms of who's the better team to get on the spread. They're very much the same argument as Dallas. I mean, it's basically the same analysis. So that's how the spreads and the money line stack up when you separate them out. Remember, as long as you stick to your 5% and 15% rule when you allocate your bankroll, you'll be good if you mix and match these and do whatever. Just remember, no one play should be over 5%, and then no whole slate should be over 15% of your bankroll. So as long as you're doing that, you'll be good. And that's going to wrap up our NFL Week 5 betting preview. And remember, this isn't about telling you who to bet. It's about walking through the systems, the numbers, and the bankroll discipline to help you be put in the best position to win. So if you got value out of this breakdown, do us a favor, right? You can subscribe so you don't miss our Week 5 recap and our Week 6 preview. Like the video, it really helps push this out to more bettors just like yourself, and then drop a comment down below and let us know which systems you're tracking or if there's a matchup you want us to spotlight in the next upcoming week. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.